Okay, so so far, so this Saturday, Sunday, next Monday, and Tuesday, we'll have 4 presentations. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, and so what you'll be presenting is chapter 11, and then something in chapter 9, and what we have been doing is chapter 10. And in chapter 10, we have learned how to write IO operations. Did you try these IO operations?
Yes, some of them, like the simple ones.
So now,
And
if you are asked to write a simple C-like program where you are asked to take some input, then compute something with it, and then output it, will you be able to do it?
yes, sir.
Yeah. What about Gaurav?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is something which you will only learn how to structure it in such a way that the IO operations are in the front and the computer purely functional operations are in the back. That requires some training. So the only way you can do it is by doing it. Now, how many of you did that exercise which I gave? Compute solving the linear equations. So you please do it, and let's discuss the solution in the next class. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
All right. So now let me start with this chapter. I'm assuming that we will be doing the rest of chapter 10 and the chapter 11 in our presentation, in the coming presentations. So we will go through all these things. So that will be a good opportunity for us to actually see how all these things come together. How to define new data types, how to take input, how to put the output, all these things, how they come together. That we will learn while we do the presentations. Okay. All right.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now what we have to do is chapter 12, which is a monstrous tough part of Haskell. Okay, it's not really tough. One of the reasons why people say it is tough is because people try to do the shortcut. They try to either completely disregard the mathematics behind it and start doing it. And so one way you can do it is only by having some little bit of understanding of what is this whole thing is. Okay. All right. So what are we going to learn in this chapter 12? It's going to be a reasonably long chapter. In with this chapter, we learn three things. One is functors, one is applicative functors, one is monads. Okay, each is a generalization of the other. Okay. We'll start with functor, which is a type class, just like your type class num, your type class. What are the other type classes we learned? Num.
Int.
Int is a type. What is a type class? What are
Like
the
EQ
examples of type?
class.
Pardon?
EQ.
Like EQ.
EQ is a type class. Num
Or
is a type class. Then ORD is a type class.
no.
Yeah, ORD is a type class. Then
Float.
fractional was a type class. Then
Yes.
Yeah.
what other things we had? We had show as a type class. We had read as a type class. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are type classes. So what do we mean by type classes? These are collections of types for which some operations are defined. For instance, in OR the class, in OR type class, we have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Then we have min, max. All these functions are defined. Yeah.
Yes.
So any type which belongs to that type class, these functions will be defined. Similarly, for num, plus, minus, multiplication, division, everything will be defined. For show, the function show will be defined. For read, the function read will be defined. Yeah. These are type classes. These are collections of types. Now what we are going to learn is we are going to learn 3 new type classes for which some particular functions will be defined. Okay, so these are type classes. So these are not types per se like int or bool. These are classes of types for which some types will belong to, and for these types the some functions like will belong. Okay. For this is for the functor type class, there will be a function called fmap will be defined, and for applicative functors, some other type, some other functions will be defined, and for monad there will be some other functions will be defined. One of the functions which we will be defined for the monad type class is return. We have already used that return in our IO. Yeah. Did we use return? Did anybody use
Yes.
return?
Uh,
Yeah.
It was defined in.
Yeah. It is just to take a type A and make it into IOA, for which you could use return. Okay, but it is in general for any monadic class, any monadic type, you could use the return key. Okay, so that is the one thing which we are going to learn in this class, in this chapter, that we are going to learn 3 new type classes, and functor, applicative functors. On in short, they are called applicatives, and then in the last, it's monads. That's one thing which I want to say. Second thing is that they are all one generalizations of each other. So, for instance, functor and a monad type class is actually something which is actually a applicative, and an applicative type class is actually something which is functor. Just like when we remember, you remember EQ and OR and num. Everything which is num, it belongs to already also into OR as well as into EQ, and everything which is OR also is EQ. Remember this?
Yes.
Because EQ is where equality and disequality is defined. Compare. OR is where less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and EQ operations are defined. Num is where all these things are defined. So these are generalizations of one another. So functors, applicatives will be a generalization of functor. Monads will be a generalization of applicatives. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. So that's the second thing, that we are going to gradually increase the generality of our operations. Okay, so in today's class, I'll just introduce what are functors. I'll just say brief things about functors. We will read the chapter together, and we'll try to understand the chapter, and then I'll give you a reading assignment, and then we'll do. Okay. Okay. So now, what are functors? Yeah. So in a third aspect, let me also say this thing, that all these words come from mathematics from a subject called category theory. Functors, applicative functors, monads, natural transformations, all these words come from category theory of mathematics. And what is category theory? Category theory, just like the name indicates, is actually a theory to categorize mathematics. Okay. So when we talk about, most of you know what are groups, isn't it? What are groups? How many of you don't know what are groups? Like the MTech students, have you heard of the term group? Richa?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what is a group?
Hello.
Do you know what is a group?
So you're not audible. Hello. Hello.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Now? Am I audible now?
So you are audible.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, let me give my point. The point is that in mathematics, you study structures like groups, you study structures like rings, you study structures like fields, then partial orders, you study topological spaces, you study function spaces, you study functions, you study derivatives, all kinds of things. Yeah. Now, how do you put, at the end of the day, how do you put them into one whole thing? Because it's like, it seems like, these are all disconnected things, but category theory comes in as a thread which ties together all of these things. Yeah. We will go into, we'll talk more about category theory as we go along, but simply by category we mean things which are of the similar kind. For instance, you can talk about category of sets. You can talk about category of groups. Okay, when you talk about category of sets, the only thing in that category will be sets. Just like, it will be only sets. All kinds of sets. Category of groups will have all kinds of groups. Category of fields will have all kinds of fields. Category of differentiable functions will have all kinds of differentiable functions. So things like that. So for instance, you can talk about category of list. Okay, that's a very important class for when we come to programming. What are category of lists? So for instance, you think about lists as a data type. List of integers, list of strings, list of things, list of integers, and all kinds of things. So if you take all that list, it will form the category of list. So a category will have two things. It will have objects and it will have functions. Okay. For the moment, you disregard the functions. Category will have objects. Now each object will be one list, one particular list. For instance, list 1, 2 will be an element of this category. Okay. So that's enough category for today. But now, what do we want to do in functors? So we have a function called map. We know what is map. If you have a function which is from type A to type B, which is from A to B, small a to small b, and if I have a list of type box A, then I can use map to apply this function to every element of that list. This is something which we already know and we use all the time. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Map function. Now let me ask you this question. We know how to write a binary tree in Haskell. We know how to create a binary tree. Yeah, everybody knows this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for instance, we will define a new data type using the data keyword, and we will say it is just either it is a leaf node or it is a node which contains two subtrees, trees, and then we know how to create a binary tree. Now this is a type which you have created. Now let's imagine you have created a binary tree and you want to create a function which will take a tree and which will add a 1 to every element of that tree. Okay, you get it what I'm saying? So for instance, I have a function called increment, which will, if I apply map inc to a list, it will increment that list by this function to every element. Now I have created my binary tree. I want a similar function as map that will take a function and apply that function to every node of that binary tree. How do I do that? Obviously map cannot help because map is only for map has a very strict syntax, strict type, which is A arrow B, arrow box A, arrow box B. That is what the type of map. Now what I need is a type like A arrow B, arrow, a binary tree, a tree A to a tree B. Yeah. So the type which I want for my map function, let's imagine that map function is, let's imagine the type function I want is map binary tree, B tree. Okay. I want a binary tree function. Now what should be the type of that binary tree function? It should be A arrow B, arrow, tree A, and it should give me a tree B. Okay. This is a very reasonable thing I can ask, because this will save this will save a lot of my time if I just have a function like this. Because now if you give me a binary tree and if you ask me, okay, increment all nodes by 10 or make all the even nodes to be 0 or something like that, we know how to do that, because we just write a function A arrow B and then apply that function using this map B tree. Isn't it?
Yes.
All right. So if we have such a function will be called a functor. Such a function, whichever type class for which we could do this is called a functor. So for instance, binary tree could be a functor class. list is a functor class, and so on. Okay. Now, if you dissect the word functor, it is actually taking one function in one domain and transforming it into another function over another domain. That's what is happening here. I'm taking one function A or B. If we take one function A or B, and then what the functor class does is that you take that function and it actually transform it into a function over tree arrow A to tree arrow B. So that's why it's called functor. It takes a function and takes a function over one category, the category of numbers. Yeah, A arrow B could be, I mean, if you talk about increment, the increment, it's a function which +1 is a function which is over numbers, which is over the num class +1. Now map takes that function and converts it into a function over list. That's a function. If here I could think about map B tree takes a function over numbers like +1 and transform it into a function over trees. So that's also a functor. Okay. Now, so therefore map is a key function which exists over the functor type class. All right.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so now let's read the chapter. In this chapter, we will increase the level of generality that can be achieved in Haskell by considering functions that are generic over a range of parameterized types such as lists, trees, and input-output actions. In particular, we introduce functors, applicatives, and monods, which variously capture generic notions of mapping, functional applications, and effective program. Okay, so for the moment, let's ignore what that means. Functors. All three new concepts introduced in chapter are examples of the idea of abstracting out a common programming pattern as a definition. Okay, so that's one way of looking at these things. We begin by reviewing this idea using the following two simple functions: inc, from list int to list int. Inc empty list, empty set is empty set, empty list is empty list. Inc n colon ns is n+1 colon inc ns. That's how we would. So this is a function which iterates through the list recursively and increments every element of the list by 1. Yeah. Now square is another function which is defined analogously. Square is from box int to box int. Square of empty list is empty list. Square of n comma n colon ns is n square colon square ns. So square actually iteratively goes through recursively goes through the list and increment squares each list. Both functions are defined in the same manner, with the empty list being mapped to itself and non-empty list to some function applied to the head of the list, and the result of recursively processing the tail. The only important difference is the function that is applied to each integer in the list. In the first case, it is the increment function +1, and in the second case, the squaring function square. Abstracting out this pattern gives a familiar library function map. Map A arrow B, arrow box B. Map F box empty list is empty list. Map F xs x colon xs is fx colon map x fx. We all know this definition. Okay, it's just a simple map. So far what we said is that, okay, I have this function inc, I have this function square, and we know how to write this function map, which will actually convert this, take this familiar programming pattern and abstract it out to a map function. Using which our two examples can then be defined more compactly by simply providing the function to be applied to each integer. Inc equal to map of +1, square equal to map of square, so exponential 2. More generally, the idea of mapping a function over each element over a data structure isn't specific to this type of list, but can be abstracted further to a wide range of parameterized types. The class of types that support such a mapping function are called functors. Okay. So what you said is that, so I just gave you the example of binary tree, and I gave you, in a binary tree, we can think of a function like map binary tree. Okay. Now map binary tree is not the function which we'll use. We will call the generalization of map to functor type class is called fmap. So for a binary tree, we could define a function like fmap, which will take a function and apply to every node of the binary tree or leaf node of the binary tree. It depends upon how you want to interpret your definition of fmap to your type class. Okay. Now, so the purpose of defining a new functor class is that I want to define this fmap to my class. Okay. If I define a binary tree, I want my binary tree to be a type of the type class functor. If I define some other data structure like a hash table, or if I define a red black tree, or if I define a graph, okay, I define a data structure called graph, which consists of nodes and edges, and I want to, let's say, apply a function to all elements of this graph, or vertices or all edges of this graph, then I want to have such a fmap function. And in that case, I will go and say that, okay, I'll declare my type class, my type graph, to be an instance of the functor type class, and I'll say, okay, this is how I'll apply my fmap function. Is it getting clear to you?
Yes.
Yes. Like this functor can be only used for mapping, for nothing else.
Functor type class is for defining the fmap function. Okay, that's
Okay.
only it. It is only for that. It is only for that, but it is extremely powerful. It is not for just applying one function. You have to imagine, we are using map for all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yes.
So similarly, fmap is a function which can be used to define. Okay. Fmap is a function which can be used to define all kinds of other functions. For instance, you could define a function which which multiplies your uh, uh, edge weights by 10 by just one function. Yeah, you just say fmap,
Yes.
and then you say multiply by 10. That's it. And then you apply this function to your graph. The entire graph, the edge weights of the entire graph is done completely multiplied by 10. So, okay, so that is what the functor type class is for. Now,
Okay.
you might think that, okay, just by adding, it is just to define this fmap function. Why are we taking this one? The point is that when we use this functor type class, we get to applicatives, and when we from applicatives you get to monads, and monads are powerful enough to handle your entire IO. For instance, your input output IO is a monad, your list is a monad, your uh, so there are various kinds of monads in Haskell, and all these monadic classes just uses 2 or 3 functions to achieve whatever you want to achieve. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. So you should not think about you should not think in such a way that, okay, it's just for defining one function. You can have all kinds of other functions in your particular type, but when you say my type belongs to functor class, you are saying that I am going to define fmap for my type. All right.
Okay, sir.
So
Abhishek,
if
yeah.
we define it,
Yeah. Yeah.
hello,
Yeah. Tell me.
sir. If we define any type in our functor class, then the type or
I didn't actually understand your video. I'm sorry. I can't see my video.
so I'm saying if we define some type in
Can you type your question in the chat window? Hello. If you have any question. I can't see my video. It's lost. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Can you see my video?
Yes,
But I can't see
I
my
can
video.
see the screen also.
All right.
Uh,
Sir,
Okay, so
because
let's listen to Gaurav's question. If we define any type in a functor class, can we use fmap to apply any function on it, right? Let me understand that question. If we define any type in a functor class, can we use fmap to apply any function on it, right? Of course, as far as the types matches. That is the purpose of a functor class.
okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So now let's. I wanted to say something more. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. So now, class functor f where f map. So now, what is the type of if when you say my type f belongs to functor class? You remember this kind of definitions when we say class eq a, where then you will say eq has these functions. Similarly, when you say my function, the type which I'm going to create, like my binary tree type or my graph type or my new data structure type, when I say it belongs to class functor f, then what we are saying is that for that class f, for that type f, this function fmap is defined. Now, what is the type of fmap? It takes a function of type a arrow b and data type fa, and then gives me fb. Yeah. Hello, Abhishek, can you unmute?
yes,
Yeah, Pankaj, you have any question?
No, sir.
Abhishek, Varghese? Yeah. All right. So I hope this, what we mean by this definition, class functor f where fmap a arrow b arrow fa arrow fb is clear to everybody. Okay. We will see instances of that as we go along. That is, for a parameterized type f to be an instance of the class functor, it must support a function fmap of the specified type. The intuition is that fmap takes a function of type a arrow b, fmap takes a function of type a arrow b, and a structure of type fa, like a binary tree int. Okay, you get what is this fa and fb? I forgot the class was at 12 and not 12:30. Even the link notification, I am receiving it now. Hence, I asked John. I have absolutely no idea what is going on. Still, I attend and try to understand. Okay, so this is being recorded, so I'll upload as soon as I finish. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this FA is like when we create a binary tree, for instance, a tree data structure, we usually parameterize what the content of the tree. For instance, we'll say tree int. When we write the tree data structure, we parameterize that data structure by the type. Yeah, we'll say data tree A, and then you will say leaf A or node tree A in bracket tree A in bracket tree A. In saying that the tree can contain int, the tree can contain strings, the tree can contain this, that, all these things. Similarly, when I say FA, what A means is that FA means is that it's you can just replace FA by tree A, for instance.
Okay.
All right. The intuition is that fmap takes a function of type A or B and a structure of type FA whose elements have type A and applies the function to each such element to give a structure of type FB whose elements now have type B. All right, let's read that once more. The intuition is that fmap takes a function of type A arrow B and a structure of type FA, just like your binary tree A, whose elements have type A. Like in a binary tree, you will have individual nodes will have integers, type A, and applies a function to each such element to give a structure of type FB. whose elements have now type B. Okay. All right. Is that clear? Garo?
Mm,
Neha?
yes, sir.
Neha?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you will have to go through, after I do this thing also, you have to go through this once more and read and try to understand. I'll give you the one exercise also. The
Yeah,
fact that,
because
yeah,
initially it's a bit confusing, so that's why yeah, I mean it's a little bit difficult to get a hang of it.
yeah, you will have to do the exercises, only then you'll get the hang of it. The fact that f must be a parameterized type, that is a type that takes another type as a parameter, is determined automatically during type inference by virtue of the application of f to the type A and type B in the specified type for f map in the class declaration. Okay, for the moment, let's not understand that sentence. It's not necessary at the moment to understand it more, in the global picture. Let's leave that sentence as it is. If you understand the previous sentence, you will understand this one also. The fact that f must be a parameterized type, that is a type that takes another type as a parameter, like binary tree can take a parameter int as element of this one. Okay, that's what it means. The fact that f must be a parameterized type, that is a type that takes another type as a parameter, is determined automatically during type inference by virtue of the application of f to the types A and B in the specified type for f map in the class declaration. Okay. So to understand this paragraph, all you have to keep in your mind the binary tree analog. I think that is a one. You can also think about lists and maybe and all kinds of things, because these are also functors and applicatives and monads. But thinking of binary tree will make more sense for you, because that is how you will use it. Because functor, this maybe monad and list monad, everything is already given to you, so you don't have to use it. But when you come to binary tree, you'll have to use this. So that's why it's easier to think in terms of binary tree. Okay. All right. Now let's take this example of list. As we would expect, the list type list can be made into functor by simply defining f map to be the function map. Okay. So if we okay, what I wanted to show, okay, I'll show you that later. Instance functor, then empty list, where fmap has the type a arrow b arrow box a arrow box b, fmap equal to map. Okay. Now, hello. So far we have used. Let me just. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let me create a function. List type dot hs. Okay, so now I can actually define, if I have a list function, let's say I have a list function head prime. Okay, and I want to say a arrow, yeah, that's a type of head. Yeah, and I say head x underscore is what? X. This is the definition of yeah. This is the definition of list. Oh, sorry, head of a list.
So head prime.
Head prime, yeah. Head prime. Actually, you could also say like this. I could say this way. Okay. GXR long list type, and I say head prime 1, 2, 3. Okay. So what I have just done is that instead of type, I have written head, the type of head, the way Haskell understands it. Haskell understands box A as applying A to this functor called box. Okay, that's a special. This thing Haskell does not allow us to define type classes with special symbols like this, but list it understands as a functor whose name is this box. All right. So when Haskell says box A, Haskell understand. Pardon.
Isn't that how we define an empty list?
Yes, it is. We use it as empty list also, but it is also the name of the type. This is actually the name of the type. This one, okay. This is also the name of the type. It's also empty list. For instance, when you write this one, this is how you construct a set, but this is also empty set. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this is just notation. I'm just telling that, you know, Haskell understands when you write this is consistent with this definition, isn't it? Fmap. For instance, if we write map this way, it is, what is the type of map? A arrow B arrow. What? Tell me.
So you will have a
Box
list
A.
of A,
Yeah, it is list of A arrow.
list B.
Yeah. So if you write map this way, this is nothing but this definition: A arrow, B arrow, FA arrow, FB, where this list type is parameterized by this type A. So list is a functor type which is parameterized by A. Okay. List is more than functor. It is also applicative. It is also monad and so on. But right now we understand list as a functor where for which map is defined. Okay. All right. Okay, so now, so what we are trying to do is that we are trying to see list as a functor. So we will say that this type class is this type list is a instance of this functor type class. So we will say instance functor list where fmap is map, because map we have already defined. We all know how to write this map type and its definition recursively. We have done that. So therefore, we just have to say when we define list as an instance of the functor type class, all we have to say is that, okay, look, I'm defining fmap and my fmap is nothing but map function. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now the symbol list in this declaration denotes the list type without a type parameter and is based upon the fact that the type box A can also be written in more primitive form as the application box A of the list type box to the parameter type A. Note also that the type of fmap above is stated in a comment rather than explicitly because Haskell does not permit such type information in instance declarations. That's not relevant for us. However, it is useful for guiding the definition of fmap and for documentation for purposes. So we include such types in comments. All right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the functor class by default, is it empty? Like for list also, if we have to use, we have to we have to define what fmap stands for, and then we can use it. By list
Yes.
is not by default in functor class.
List is by default in functor class. Okay. Because list is already in the standard prelude. It's actually part of Haskell. So list is there. Okay. List. So this is actually in the prelude. In the in the prelude when they define list, they will use it this way. Okay.
So we can directly use fmap for a list without writing this.
Yes. If you use fmap for list, it will be nothing but map. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you are creating your own type and then you want to define a map, then the better way is to actually define it as a functor type instance of functor type class and define it fmap. Okay.